Welcome back to the Deep Dive. So today, our information stack isn't, world events or big market shifts. We're doing a deep dive into something much more ordinary. We've got these conversational transcripts between two people, Emily and Paul.
Yeah, and it might seem a little strange, right? Analyzing a simple chat about weekends and what kind of pizza they like.
Right.
But the mission here is to really use the specifics, the defining details, as a kind of lens. When you strip away the small talk and you really focus on the minutia, the exact objects, the locations, these little routine failures, you get this immense clarity about, modern life, memory, even personal identity.
Exactly. We're pulling out the texture, the reality from these little nuggets of daily life.
Yeah.
Looking for patterns in, say, domesticity or cognitive errors and just how people talk about their future plans.
Yeah.
And there is no better place to start than with a story that just perfectly captures the chaos that can hide inside a normal routine.
Oh, for sure.
We have to talk about the curious case of the lost keys and the unbelievable place where they were found.
It's the perfect hook. It really is. Because it goes beyond just, oh, I lost my keys, how frustrating. It tells a very specific story about how our automatic behaviors can just glitch and lead to total panic.
So let's unpack Paul's Saturday. It sounds like it started with, a full-blown crisis. He lost his keys.
Not just any keys.
No, his car keys and his house keys, the anchors to his whole day, basically. They just vanished.
And this wasn't just a quick look around, a pat down of his pockets. He spent a full hour searching. A whole hour.
An hour.
And when someone tells you that, when they recount the search in that much detail, they're really telling you about the level of stress they were feeling.
And the list of places he searched is so telling. You've got the table, his pants pockets, coat pockets, work bag, the kitchen, even the bathroom.
He's covering all the logical spots,
Yeah.
the landing zones where you'd normally drop your keys when you come in. He was being systematic. He was checking his cognitive map of where things should be. And the fact that it took an hour, that means the map was failing him completely, which just ramps up the agitation.
So after this huge, logical search of every conceivable spot, the answer was completely illogical. Where were the keys?
This is the best part.
They were in the refrigerator.
In the refrigerator. And this is where the story, it elevates from just an anecdote into a real insight.
Yeah.
Because it's not just the absurdity of it, it's the why. He must have walked in holding the keys, went to grab the milk, and just put the keys away with the milk.
It's a classic attentional failure.
Exactly. Two totally separate automatic actions just overlapped. He basically told his brain, put this in the fridge, and the brain did it to the wrong object.
And he ends up with cold keys.
Yeah.
It's just a perfect illustration of how our brains can crosswire when we're running on autopilot.
Yeah.
It's a fantastic little story that tells you more about cognitive load than any textbook.
And it immediately paints Paul as a character, It gives him this real, relatable texture.
Okay, so now let's contrast that hour of pure panic with Emily's Saturday. While Paul is having a domestic meltdown, Emily is basically living in a state of, restorative serenity.
It's a complete flip side.
Yeah.
Her day was all about intentional connection. She went to visit her family, her mom, dad, and her sister Anna. And the main thing they did, they cooked lunch together.
And not just any lunch, it was a specific meal. Pasta with tomatoes, a big red sauce. And here's the detail that really grounds it in pure joy for me.
Let me guess.
Lots and lots of cheese.
The cheese, of course. And that detail, that emphasis, it's not just about flavor, it's an anchor for the memory. The memory of indulgence, of sharing something good.
Right.
The specifics create the emotional tone. He remembers the stress of cold metal keys. She remembers the warmth of shared food and, lots of cheese.
They're polar opposites. So then Sunday rolls around.
Right.
Paul gets a break. He's recovering from the key trauma. He stays home, watches a movie.
And the movie choice is key too. A comedy about a very big, funny dog that could talk.
Pure escapism.
100%. It's the mental equivalent of a warm bath after a stressful experience. Nothing challenging, just comfort.
Emily's Sunday, though, was also quiet, but it was structured in a really different way. It speaks to a different kind of restoration.
A balancing act.
Exactly. She's balancing reading a book, a story about a small town, with her necessary chores, cleaning her apartment, watering her plants.
Which is so relatable. That's the classic Sunday negotiation, isn't it? It's the me time versus the life admin. It shows she's a character who uses structure to find her calm. Paul seems to find calm through just total collapse on the sofa.
Which brings us to their actual homes, their daily environments. And this is where we get some really interesting insights into their lives.
Yeah, we run right into the classic constraints of modern city living. Paul, for instance, he liked the movie about the dog, but he doesn't have one himself. Why?
His apartment is very small.
And that one phrase just sets a clear boundary on his life choices. It's that trade-off so many people make. You get the location, but you lose the space.
But Emily finds a way to have companionship. She has Leo, her cat.
Ah, yes, Leo, the character study.
He's perfectly described, all black with big green eyes. But that's not his defining feature, is it?
Not at all. His defining feature is his extreme laziness.
He sleeps all day, on the sofa, the bed, the chair. Emily even says she talks to him, but he's just always sleeping.
He is the quintessential low-maintenance companion. He fills the need for a living presence in the home, but without the effort a dog would require, especially in a small space. The lazy cat is basically a sociological stand-in for company without complication.
And speaking of maintenance, Emily, who avoids the complexity of a dog, has created a whole other kind of high-maintenance world for herself.
The jungle.
Her apartment is like a jungle. So many plants.
And again, the specifics are what make it powerful. It's not just a couple of plants. She has big ones, small ones. They're on the table, the floor, by the window. This is an intentional, cultivated environment.
Which connects right back to her Sunday routine. Watering all of those plants is her specific, regular job.
Right. So if you synthesize all that, Paul's small apartment, Leo the lazy cat, Emily's plant jungle, you get this really precise picture of modern domestic life. The plants especially, they speak to this need for, like, rewilding your personal space. It's a soothing contrast to the concrete world outside.
That's a great point. And maybe it connects to her food preferences, too. So let's look at their immediate plans for tonight, for Tuesday. It's all about food and friends.
Right. Paul's meeting his friend David, and he's specifically called an old school friend.
Which grounds it in history.
Exactly. And they're going to a new pizza place.
So pizza preferences. This can tell you a lot about a person. Paul's favorite is pepperoni and maybe mushroom.
A classic. It's robust, savory, complex flavors.
And Emily's.
Just cheese. And now we see the pattern. Remember the pasta.
Lots and lots of cheese.
And now just cheese on her pizza.
See, that's not an accident. It reinforces this preference for simple, non-confrontational comfort. It's reliable. It's a clean slate. Paul goes for layers and complexity. Emily goes for pure, unadulterated comfort. It's totally consistent with what we're seeing.
So let's move from tonight to next weekend, and we see two totally different things driving their plans.
Completely. Paul's plan is all about him, and it all depends on one thing.
The weather. It has to be good weather.
Because his goal is aesthetic and intellectual. He wants to go to the park, walk around, and see the autumn colors. He even specifies the red, yellow, and orange trees.
And while he's there, he's going to read a book. A long book about history.
And I find that juxtaposition so fascinating. You've got this purely sensory, relaxing activity, a walk in the park, paired with this really rigorous mental effort of a long history book.
It's a blend.
It is. It says he's someone who values both nature and serious mental engagement. Meanwhile, Emily's weekend is not about personal choice or nature. It's driven by a major social obligation.
Right. She has to go shopping. It's a mandatory task. She needs a new dress.
Why? Because her friend is getting married next month. This is a big deal. It requires prep work.
And you get that little bit of tentative planning. She's thinking maybe blue, a nice blue dress. She's starting to form the idea in her head.
So if you look at their plans, Paul's actions are mostly driven by his internal needs, right?
Yeah.
Recovering from stress, learning something new, enjoying nature.
Yeah. But Emily's future actions are driven by external social contracts. Cooking with family, chores to maintain her home, and now fulfilling this important role for a friend's wedding.
It really frames what's taking up their mental space. For Paul, it's managing his own, slightly scattered reality. For Emily, it's managing her commitments to her home and her friends.
And it just shows how much texture you can build from these tiny details. I mean, we've gone so far beyond just Paul lost his key.
Oh, yeah.
We understand his tendency for these little cognitive slips, his need for intellectual rigor, his physical constraints.
And for Emily, we get her need for simple comforts, her commitment to her social life, her green domestic life. It turns them from just names into real people defined by, cold keys and lazy cats.
Precisely. The takeaway isn't just a summary, it's that these details are what make a memory stick. Paul told a key story because the absurdity of it makes it valuable, makes it a good story to tell.
Sure.
And Emily shared the details about the cheese and the plants because those are fundamental to her identity, to her comfort.
So as we wrap up, we heard about Paul's big history book and Emily's big shopping trip. But I want to circle back to that moment of, bizarre cognitive failure. Putting the keys in the refrigerator.
We've all been there.
We all have those moments where our autopilot just fails us. So if your memory is a little bit like Paul's, and a normal everyday item ends up in a totally absurd place, what small absurd detail about your own routine, a phone in the spice racks, a remote in the dishwasher, what would be the defining hilarious memory of your next week?
What's the story you're going to tell?
Which misplaced item is going to be your next great anecdote? Until